out there in the Etherverse. Are you getting a haircut soon?
So you know what's interesting? I just got my haircut.
What?
Not too long ago.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
Yeah.
A quarter centimeter off?
I don't know. I genuinely do not know. It's a little odd. So I went in and I was like, "Hey, look, here's the thing. When my hair gets long and super full, it becomes very difficult to style. Like because my hair is just heavy. There's a lot
Sure.
of hair. So what I had asked her to do is you're gonna laugh at me because it's just I know it feeds into a trope of Mr. Combo,
Everything that we believe.
but I promise this isn't why. But I saw this Andrew Garfield picture, and someone was like, "Oh, way to go with his stylist," because he actually it was a before and after of him in his younger days and now. And his before is like, oh, I mean, that's kind of like what my hair looks like when I style it when it gets long. And then his new one is just like more kind of thrown back, and it's just very simple,
less styled.
So, yeah. So what I told her, I was like, hey, if you wouldn't mind, cut my hair to like how I like it, but just cut it in the way so when it grows out, I can just kind of throw it back, and it's just easy. And so she cut my hair, and now I'm realizing I think she just didn't.
She didn't actually cut anything.
Yeah, I think she just used like those kid scissors that you give like children.
Yes,
that
right.
can't
The
actually
safety
cut anything.
scissors to do your little trim.
Yeah. And she was just doing that, and then maybe had some hair in her hand like a magician, and just kept sprinkling it around. I don't know.
All right, and hold on, everyone out there. We'll be right back. I just need to reset Zencaster because I was getting some pops, but don't you worry. Mr. Combo is still on here. He's just not talking because we're back.
Okay.
Yeah. We were just having. I was having. Remember how
I got super uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do.
Wait, hold on. Just hang tight. One more second. I'm getting some weird pops from the Zencasters. Okay, we're back.
Oh, okay.
Tried it again. I also like. You also almost had me there again with your stone silence. Also, one of the people I work with, he is like that. That's his normal like expression. Like he is so flat faced and he doesn't blink very often. So he has got us before where we were like, Eric, are you with us? He's like, mm-hmm. And he just looked like this. He was just like, it was insane.
So he has like resting bitch face. It's just resting dead face. He has RDF.
Exactly. It's like he's not doing anything. It's hysterical. But anyways, hey-o.
All right.
We got Leah Zay in. What up?
Get it.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna save the tournament talk for the actual recording. But the one sneak peek is I did offload my Zendikar Rising booster box that I've just had forever, and I had no interest in opening.
Sure.
Well, I forgot that they did promo packs in those.
Oh, yeah.
Marketing Ross and Roy split the box, got a Expedition Ancient Tomb.
Whoops.
Nice $70.
Yeah.
So
just plus the box value, right?
Yep, exactly. Oof. So they made out like bandits, and now let's hit record.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
All right, well, here we go.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 149.
I know, it's
God,
insane.
That's a lot. Of CMDTower's Brews and Builds. I'm Mr. Commodore 5, and my fellow host, as always, BigTuck. What's going on, buddy?
You don't have some clever intro for your deck today?
No, I mean, here's the thing. We've done 149 of these.
Is that insane that next week is 150?
Yeah, I'm just running out of like ways to like low key insult you through the use of magic cards.
Hold on.
It's difficult.
I got one. BigTuck is going to make some casualties of war later this very evening, because after tonight, the parking lots of Charlotte are once again going to be very dangerous places to be.
What happened?
It's a long story. I don't want to get into it tonight, but that's why I'm trying to plan a trip. I'm trying to plan this stuff, and I cannot do it on my head. I'll tell you more, but we're going to be back to Well, that's not
Parking
true.
lot bandits.
I'm not going to be doing anything for the next month because I'm going to be traveling in and out of the country and in and out of multiple states for like 4 weeks in a row. So actually, this is like the perfect time to be single because I'm not even having enough time to be lonely. Except I guess when I'm like with you guys in at the bachelor party coming up.
Oh man, that's gonna be super lonely. I'm just waiting for like the one night we all just get completely blacked out, and it's just like,
Yeah. Oh God, I love you. I love you so much. Okay. So I will. So this is. Can I give a slight spoiler about where the location is?
oh yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. We have to go to Dollywood. I've been thinking about it a lot. I think we have to. How funny would that be? 6 of the biggest people on the planet and single Aaron together going to Dollywood and palling around there for a day. It's a train ride.
I mean, would you rather do that, or would you rather go to the abandoned theme park in the mountains?
Oh, I do like that.
Go do that. Yeah, I shared that with everyone, and that's when like the Godfather was like, "Well, I thought you didn't want to. I thought you didn't like want to have a bunch of activities." And it was like, "No, I don't want a bunch of plans. But if we like want to go do something, we can." And on the way to that abandoned theme park in the mountains is Smoky Mountain National Park. So if we actually wanted to actually go see the national park, we could.
I have a Smoky Mountain hat I can wear there too. Look at that. Because the Smokies is where I go hiking.
Appear like a local.
Especially because the other thing in news is I'm now, especially that I'm going to not have someone who has an input in this thing. I'm going to keep the beard growing all the way through Canada. I'm not touching it. I'm just letting it rip. And I think it's going to look real gnarly. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not going to lie to you.
On your way to Canada, are you going to like stop by Tomer and Mr. Bevers? And
I do need to. That's another thing I need to figure out. Which one of them are living in Ottawa? It's weird. So there's a Toronto Blue Jays, right? And someone's like, I want to go to Toronto Blue Jays game. And at the time, I wasn't thinking. I was like, oh, that would be fun to go there. It's a 3-hour train ride. I'm not going to go 3 hours to a city to watch one of the biggest cities in the world to watch a baseball game and then take 3-hour train back. That's madness. But
madness.
I did find, that drinking and running club that I found that I do. Yeah. One of those exists in Ottawa, and their meetup is when I'm there. Wow. I get to run international. I'm so excited. But anyways, I want to hear. I know you have some big news about Magic, which I'm very excited to hear about. Our very own.
What?
You said I am done talking. I'm letting you talk about what happened this weekend.
Oh. You made it sound like there was some big announcement for the channel, and I'm like,
oh no,
what did I miss?
We're done with those. There are no more big announcements on the channel left.
Oh, thank God. Oh, except for the fact we're about to come to our 3-year anniversary, which therefore means I guess it's season 4.
Yeah. Oh, we do gotta start thinking about what season 4 is gonna look like. Maybe the return of the voices bit. I hope not.
God, I hope not.
Maybe the return of redacted bits.
So, yes, we did a little pilot of what a CMDTower Magic Fest would look like this last weekend. And you might say, hey, we've been listening to you guys for 3 years now, going on 4. You guys have done these kind of things before. It's like the Drinkathon and whatnot.
Right.
Yes, you are correct. But we did do it differently. It's no longer just first, second, third, pick your prize. We actually did ticks. You got tickets based on the pod that you were in, the place that you got. Everyone got tickets. Everyone was able to get prizes. And we actually went back to level 1 and was like, hey, we're doing this. If you guys have a bunch of stuff you guys want to kind of get rid of, we're looking to get things on the cheap.
Sure.
We did $20 entry per person. So it was about $280, $300 that we had for the prize pool. They ended up hooking us up with $500 worth of product.
Wow, nice.
So it was a great return. I personally went ahead and also got a couple additional items because I wanted to make sure there was some variety in there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I'd be fine keeping like the extra stuff. So here's the positives. Games were awesome.
Good. Most importantly.
Lots of fun. Yeah, most importantly, lots of fun. They went from about 1 to, believe it or not, we were done with the prize pool tournament. We did 6 rounds. We were done by 9.
Wow.
It was only 8 hours to get out 6 rounds of games.
That's incredible.
It went super quick, which I was very appreciative of. And We got to see Terrifying Tyler. Good
Love
old
it.
Sharpie came up from our Discord moderators from the Joplin side. We had some new faces. We had some of Marketing Ross's group of like Roy and Nance and those
Sure.
come as well.
Some of those scalawags.
Smoked a 20-pound brisket, and we got to eat that up. Sir Nathan and Will and Duffman, everyone's here. The Godfather didn't make an appearance because his lady friend was in town. But overall, it was great.
Wait, Godfather, lady friend?
He has a lady friend.
Who?
Katrina. I think he might have been dating her when you guys were both in Chicago.
Maybe? I don't know.
You would have never met her. I will just put it that way. I guess if they were dating when he was working nights, and so it was just like that weird schedule.
Right.
But anyways, somehow Kismet, they come back together. And they're kind of trying it out. I mean, it's a long distance.
Yeah, that's a haul.
Yeah, but it's whatever. So he was busy. So anyways, we went through, we had 7 Commander Precons to hand out, a Zendikar Rising booster box, a sweet set of skeleton dice, this dragon that lights up dice tower, multiple collector boosters, multiple promo packs, multiple draft boosters. I mean, it was awesome. So that was all the great things about it.
Right.
Someone got an Ancient Tomb from the Zendikar Rising box.
Yeah, what a blowout.
I want to say Sharpie ended up getting the blue mythic D20 dragon in full art foil, potentially, out of his collector booster. So that was rad.
Yikes.
But here's what I learned. Because by the end of the night, there was one pod going, and someone was like, hey, well, before you guys go, because the whole thing was like, when you have the ticks and you want to get something, go get it.
Go get it, yeah.
It's not waiting until the end of the night. So we did have some people at the end of the night, everyone's done except for one pod. They still got to figure out their tickets. And it was like, hey, can you guys not pick any prizes until we're done? And it was like, well, no, because it's just first come, first serve.
Right. There's only one. You only have one version or one copy of anything to get. Right. It's not like you have more in the back.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just like, yeah, we can't really do that. And so, that kind of got people a little flustered. And it's like, I get it. If you're the last game and there's not a prize there that you want, that kind of sucks. But the same thing kind of happens at Magic Fest. By the time you get to the prize wall, your prize isn't there, it kind of sucks for you. So that's something that we're going to have to try to figure out and better communicate next time, especially if we open this up to where people want to fly in or drive in for it. Second thing is, it's because I don't like to be a bad guy. And I was texting Tuck. This was one where it was like, hey, I'm not putting any of my money into this. This is just what we're doing as a group, and the prize pool is the prize pool. But it became one of those things of like, well, I only have 350 ticks, and I want the pre-con, which is 400 ticks.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I guess it's fine. Go ahead and do it. Or, oh, well, I'm short this. And it's like, okay, fine, go ahead. And so it became a lot of concessions, and I saw the prices that were left versus the amount of money that was put in, and I personally ended up losing about $140.
Sure.
Which obviously doesn't feel great, but it is what it is, and that's fine. It's nothing that, any animosity towards it. But I do think next time, if we do a tick system, it's like you get what you get, and if you don't have the ticks, sorry. I think that's just what you're going to have to be. You're going to have to be kind of cold with it, right?
I don't know. I
mean, what are you going to do? Be like, yeah, you could do it, but you also have to give me $10?
Maybe, right? Like that. There are ways that you can do that. When we went to the normal Magic Fest, I didn't know they were doing the tick system. That was kind of threw me for a run, because normally I like the way that you do it, where you're just like, hey, this is the things, right? Like you come and pick it up like at the tournament, right?
It's like first through eighth. We were trying to keep away from people just playing broken ass decks all day, and just trying to keep it low stakes. Like we're here for fun, and yes, there's some cool stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But like, I'm glad. I think the bigger takeaway is it still was a success, right? People had fun,
absolutely.
And I think that's like the biggest. I think that's the most important part of the whole thing, right? Like people had fun. People liked that they were there, and we'll figure out the details for the next one.
Absolutely. And then the last thing I have, which is non-Magic related, did y'all see Daredevil's coming back and Charlie Cox? Let's go!
I was very excited to see that. I think he's great. I think he's awesome. Like, in the cameo that he had in Spider-Man was amazing, right? It was so good to see him back.
Cameo
in
She-Hulk, cameo in Echo, And his series is 18 episodes. Someone did the math. We're going to get Daredevil for like 3.5 months every single week, and I'm here for it. I love the one Netflix show you actually liked, right?
Yeah, I really liked. I think what was it? The first season was good. The second season was great, and then the Defenders was okay-ish, and that was kind of And then I thought the one after that was also just kind of like,
Yeah. Well, the second season was the tits because of Punisher and John Berthnall.
He's incredible.
Oh my god,
absolutely incredible. And like Electros, I thought was a really interesting foil to him. So the third one was okay. Like I liked whatever his name is, not the guy who can throw stuff really well, not Deadshot or anything.
Oh,
Bullseye. I can't even say anything because I am actually doing this clean, which I'll get to in just a second when we start talking about how we break down our cards.
Well, Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. As we conquered the path to 32, tackled tons of EDH themes, we're going to be discussing, or rather theory crafting, a deck that doesn't even exist yet. Each month will consist of new decks, and we correlate how these decks are constructed similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke this down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. We call that a grain.
And grains are the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually about a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content, of which I am having none. I am not drinking for 2 weeks before Charleston and then the week before going to Canada to try to go through. And more importantly, if you notice, I didn't do a also off that. So I've been a little on edge these last few days. But decks always needs ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp into bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
Well, if anything, I'm just proud of you because I would think if you're on edge, that's when you're bajou.
No, I think it's the opposite. I think it's because I'm not doing that. That's what keeps me baseline. And then since I'm not doing that, now I'm like, ah.
Well, let's also talk about how we're gonna interact with our opponents and the remainder of the board in our hops.
And hops give the beers patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands and help distinguish subcategories like IPAs. Hop choices help clear and interact with the board so your deck can ultimately do what it wants.
And then how does the deck close out and win games? We call that yeast.
And yeast are living microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds the alcohol content, or maybe it doesn't, and the carbonation, which it does. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water. And without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then we do have shenanigans, pet cards, synergies. I could not put Alter the Brood in the deck. I apologize.
Legally unable to.
Fun. Legally unable to in this made-up format. We call that spice.
And it's not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the pepper that turns a stout into jalapeno stout, or additional hops that turn IPA into a double IPA. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it.
And a new addition to this episode specifically of theory crafting. We do have a bottle capping, but it's just going to be BigTuck's cuts and adds to the deck. They're going to be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. And I'm sure there was probably more on the cutting floor as well, but we restrict him to 3. He just couldn't talk about mana-only lands. So without further ado, let's get brewing. All right. Here's what we got for you guys today. So you guys might remember Casually EDH was a channel that I guested on in the last month and a half. For their EDH gameplay. It was on a Sunday, and whenever a channel reaches out to me and they want me to either be on their channel or talk about something, I'm like, hey, well, what do you want me to bring to the table? Is there a theme? What's going on? And usually they always come back and say, no, just like whatever you want. And like, okay, that's fine.
Sure.
Well, this go around, they did the same thing, and I was like, well, it's a long ways away because I'm not going to be on for another month. If you guys have a theme or something that you want, just let me know, and I'm sure I have a deck where I could build something pretty easy to do it. Well, they throw out, how about 6 CMC Tribal? Yes, that is a Tomer from MTG Goldfish Special.
Yep.
I laughed at it, and I said, bet, let's go.
Bet on that.
So I started doing a search in Scryfall, and I was like, okay, 6 CMC, I need ways to cheat stuff out as quick as possible, or try to get as much resources as possible. But I was not going to do Tassiger, which is what Tomer always does, because Delve is a easy way to cheat it out from the command zone. So me, SD Sharpie, and Rocketing Moss from our Discord mods all kind of talked about it, and we decided on Ziatora the Incinerator. So BigTuck, why don't you read who Ziatora is? I'll talk through our strategy in building out the deck list, and then you can kind of give me your thoughts.
Sure. What I would like to say is that I think this deck is very interesting. And I think that there's a lot to go with. First off, it's Jund, which is amazing. I think it's a really strong color combination, which I love. But this is a really tough thing to build, right? Like, I think this one is extremely hard to build around. And I think that there is a lot of different things that you could do here, right? Well, actually, not really. There's not very many things that you could do at all.
All right, I paused.
Okay, sorry. Your audio was coming through super weird. Like, it was like chipping in and out, and it looked fine in the Zencastr. So I think it's something to do with the feed. So I'm just gonna reset. I'm just gonna reset Zencastr. Okay.
Okay.
So.
Well,
because
beautiful day.
I couldn't tell if it would affect the video portion of it. So that's why I want to kind of stop while I could and get back into it. But I am back. Okay, can you give me a little hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm here singing for
It fixed it. I don't know. It's so weird with Zencastr sometimes. So, but what are you gonna do?
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Get your video turned on, you SOB, on my side.
Thank you. Wait a minute, is it not on?
There you go. Now you're on.
Okay.
Record.
So Ziatora is a really interesting commander, like I was saying previously. I think I like it because it's Jund, right? I think that gives you a lot of options and a lot of different things to cheat in. And I do like that it does have a little bit of the win con on it itself, right? I was dealing with some audio issues. Have we read the card out?
We have not. Why don't you read that?
I'll do that right now. Perfect. So Ziatora the Incinerator is 3 colorless and red, black, and green. Jund, aka the best color combination in the game of Magic. That's a legendary creature, demon, dragon. That's a mythic for $3.42 for the alternate art foil version of it. It's a 6/6 flyer. It also has, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Ziatora rather, the Incinerator deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens, right? So normally, I think that this is... I really like this because this is just... That's what I want to do in all my decks. I want to ramp. I want to sacrifice things. See the deck I streamed with on Monday. See my first deck I ever built, Prosh, which may or may not come up in this episode a little bit. So I think Ziatora is really strong. I think where I was like struggling to, this is a really tricky build, right? You got very few mana rocks, if any, very few ways to build things. At first I was like balking at the price of this deck, which, let's just get that out of the way, is $2,100. But I went through and realized why. It's like, oh yeah, you have to have every single land that has an activated ability. You have to have every single way to fix your mana. You cannot miss a land drop. I think this is a record for you at 40 lands that are all utility in there. And that's why I was like, okay, that makes a little more sense because you got to put all that into the land base. I think where I like this is I believe people would look at Ziatora and think like, well, it's not Prosh because you can't sacrifice on whim. It's not Sekuar because you're not getting your immediate value. It's not the Hensi Toolbox because it doesn't enable you. But I think this deck in particular, that is completely mitigated, right? Because I don't think you're going to be playing more than a creature a turn, right? Maybe if you're lucky, you might be able to sneak out 2, but they're all haymakers, right? They got insane power and toughness, and you're going to be able to start zapping things off the board or just slamming in for value, right? I wouldn't be surprised if you like play a 6-drop flyer, swing in for 6, play Ziatora in the second main phase, then you go to your end step, sack that, hit for another, you pretty much give it double strike, and now you are able to generate even more mana to hopefully do the same thing the next turn. So I thought it was a really cool build, and I like that you kind of went this direction more so than like some sort of 6 CMC like value train or something insane like that.
So the way that we decided to build the deck is we had to, because a lot of people may not be aware of this, your split cards, it's the combined CMC that counts. So we were able to leverage
Correct.
that. Try to find as many things with like forest, mountain, or swamp cycling. So it's
Yep.
kind of, it's not ramp.
It's mana
It's
fixing.
mana fixing.
Yeah.
So at least that way we're always hitting our land drops. But really, the thing that really attracted me to Ziatora is there's a lot of 6 CMC haymakers that also produce tokens on their own. And so it kind of gives us that modality at the end step of, am I going to sacrifice a token? Because what I'm essentially looking for is I want a 50% discount on my next creature spell I play. Because 3 treasures, that's half of 6. So, you know, am I looking for that? Okay, I'll sacrifice a token. Or, okay, do I need to bolt something or overload something with damage? Okay, then I can sack that creature, still get my 3 treasures, and now kill something down. So I probably, in the gold fishing that I've done, believe it or not, Tuck, I probably need to move a card from the grains to the yeast, because it seems like when I get that card out, I just win.
Yeah, I think there's one that I was gonna cut. We might be talking about it that I was gonna cut because I didn't think it was good enough, but then it plays so well with the commander. So I think I'm kind of on the same page with you on that.
Sure. But yeah, I've been able to play multiple things. The biggest thing, and you hit it on the head, it's I gotta make sure that my mana's on point and have enough cheap ways to get around the 6 CMC thing to interact in turns 1 through 6. Because the earliest I've been able to get out a creature is turn 3, but that's because it has a clause of it gets reduced because of my opponents. But other than that, it's always like turn 5, turn 6. So I definitely have to have ways to interact. I need ways to do things on my turns.
Right.
And I think we have a build that can get us there. I'll be super interested to hear your thoughts on some of it.
It was definitely hard. It was definitely hard to cut stuff because, again, there's not that many to choose from, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I even typed up a little primer for you. So essentially, guys, what I kind of did for it is we're trying to leverage cheap creature tokens to get Ziatora, step trigger making 3 treasures. We needed more of those, so we're leveraging any type of rant that can cheese into 6 CMC. The cycle effects is one. Reduced number of opponents, split cards. A bunch of interaction with some board sweepers, targeted ETB removal, protection for overcosted creatures. And then it's just really just smash and face. I actually said I wasn't going to buy the deck until we did this episode, but I actually bought the deck anyways. But I only needed about, I think it was, because for the most part, a lot of the cards that were expensive, I wouldn't care if you cut them. I was going to get them anyways, because they were just like maybe restricted list type stuff. Reserved list that is like, I'd like to get this anyways. But I'd like to say this. I think my mana mana pie is pretty good.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd be curious your thoughts on, I went a little heavier in the red because I don't know. It always seems like red is the one that's a little bit more pip hungry than maybe green or black. Do you think that's the right move, or should we maybe? Because it looks like the deck's about 30.
Yeah, it really looks like it's about even. I don't know. I wouldn't worry. I think a deck this ridiculous, by the time you get to turn 6, you'll probably be able to have the right mana, right? So I don't know. I wouldn't really. I'm not too worried about the mana fixing on it, right? Like I'm just worried about getting mana out to begin with.
And tapped out, you're drunk. Everything is in the 6 CMC bucket, yet it says my average CMC is 5.81.
It just must. It must just be like. I mean, that's. Wait, yeah, how's that possible? See, it must include lands. It has to. Oh, and I was going to say, though, the one thing that I'm not 100% sure on, the ones that are the, like, there's some cards that are split cards, like potentially from guilds, and I don't know if it takes the entire CMC. I think that's only some of the specific cards. Like they count, I think so, right? But I'm not 100% sure on how that works. So that might be why it's only reading one half of those, and that's why it's slightly lower because it's the front half.
Interesting.
So I'm not sure how that's. I still liked where your heads was at in the spirit, regardless of what the rulings is on it. But that might be why it's slightly off.
Sure. All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive into this deck. I'll start this off since I had built it. One thing I didn't talk about is hideaway cards. Hideaway
very good.
Critical,
yeah.
But I could not run the black one. It was unplayable. I think you can only activate it if nobody has cards in hand.
Oh yeah, that the black and blue one are kind of stinky if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It's the other ones that are good.
But the red one is great, and it's actually one that I could probably activate before turn 6. So I think Spine Rock Knoll is critical
it's
for
pretty
the
good.
6 CMC tribal deck. So it's a land, it has Hideaway 4, so when it ETBs, look at the top 4 of your library, exile 1 face down, then put the rest on the bottom in a random order. It enters the battlefield tapped, it does add a red mana, and then for a red tap, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if an opponent was dealt 7 or more damage, not combat damage, this turn. It's 18 cents. So
Yeah.
kind of my thought is if I can get this early game, it's perfect because I'm going to look at the top 4. There's going to be some haymaker there, whether it's great for the turn that I'm able to play it or not, who cares? But I don't think it's unrealistic to think that one of my opponents is going to take 7 in a turn before turn 6, right?
I agree. No, I completely agree with that. And I think that's a cool way to play it too. I think a lot of people play this card almost, and it didn't strike to me until you started talking about it, because I just saw like Hideaway Lands. I'm like, yeah, sure, it's a utility land. Don't need to even read this card, right? But I think a lot of people play it like, they play it like the card reads when you deal 7 or more damage, right?
Yeah.
A target opponent is dealt by you, and they only do it on your turn. I love the fact that you can play it so defensively and just wait to do something on someone else's turn, right? And maybe spring out one of your big East cards or one of your big haymakers a few turns early and get the rest of your stuff grinding behind it. So I think it's great, especially in a 3-color. If this was 5-color, I'd be like, it's starting to get a little hurt, but in 3-color, why not? I think it's a great inclusion.
All right. What is your first grain card, buddy?
So this would be a card that would say, has this ever bit you in the ass? Because it does give your opponent something too, but this is probably the best ramp card in the entire deck, and you're paying for it as well. Hold on.
Let's go.
Ready?
3, 2, 1.
Avatar Growth. The 4-colorless double green for a creature elemental avatar. That's a mythic for about $6. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each opponent you have. Trample. Then when it enters the battlefield, each player searches the library for up to 2 basic land cards, puts them on the battlefield, then shuffles their library. Don't care. Do not care in this situation. I think this is gonna be. I think this is the best ramp card that you have. I might have one. I have one that I think is sneaky good in the cuts and adds that I'm surprised you missed, or didn't make it into the deck. But to me, I don't care. I really don't care what the opponents do, because guess what? If those 2 lands push your opponents into their winning state, I couldn't do anything about it anyway. So go right ahead, right? I think this deck is going to play, at least I don't know how aggressive it's going to end up being, but I think this deck's going to play a lot like our dollar decks, just being like, oh, you're a target? No, you're not. Like, I don't even have to worry about you over there in the corner because you're not going to do anything for another 5 turns. Like, and this is going to help your opponents make you look like you're the good guy, when in reality, this is going to get you that much closer to getting your commander or any of the other synergies online.
And I like that it's an enter the battlefield, because I do have some graveyard stuff, I believe, throughout the deck that I might be able to pull it back. So the fact that it's an ETB is great, because now if it's a graveyard, if it's straight to the battlefield, boom, we're getting it. And I love it because there's theft effects from graveyards. Like, oh, you guys want to take my creature? Take Avatar of Growth.
Go right ahead. It's only going to help you.
Care. Yeah,
exactly.
So this was one I was telling you, like turn 3, this is great. There cannot be a better turn 3 play in this deck. I just got to make sure I have that double green pips.
And then you're off to the races. I agree. I think it's awesome. I've never seen this card before, so it's out of some like game night party pack thing. I don't know.
Yep.
Whatever.
All right. Well, my last one is a card that I spec'd on, kind of whiffed on, but this deck, it's dangerous because it can kill me. But I think it's one of those things, if I'm playing stuff off the top and you're going to kill me, that's all right.
Right.
Rolus' Citadel is so good in this deck. 3 colorless, black, legendary artifact, rare for a little above $5. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to the CMC rather than pay its mana cost. And you technically can tap this, sack 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. I'll never be able to do that.
I was going to say, are you planning on having 10 non-land permanents, period?
Probably not.
Are you planning on having 5, I guess?
Yeah. So what I was going to say is when I did Goldfish it and I got Bolus' Citadel, got it out turn 5, played one thing off the top, paid 6 life, then hit a land. I'd already played a land, so I was done. Next turn, drew that land. There was another land on top, did the land. I ended up paying 24 life that turn, and I had such a commanding board state that in my mind,
You're
either
off
they
to the
would have
races. Nice.
conceded. No, they just would have conceded, or they would have been like, okay, well, now we have to make him arch enemy, because it was that intense.
Wow.
Like, I even had things that I was playing off the top that were gaining me life back. So, Bolus of Citadel, I actually think, is the sneaky card that should probably be in Yeast.
Interesting.
I think it can actually win me the game, regardless of paying 6 life a spell.
Right. That's not what I was talking about, but I do think it's really great. And back to your point of like the red pips, that's why I think this is the only one. I think this is the only card that has 3 pips in the activated or in the like CMC, right? On the actual card. And
there is one other creature in the grains that actually has red, green.
Ah, right. Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about there. So I think that's why it's not worth worrying too much about that, because you're going to want these double pips for this. So I think you're fine, but I do think that this one is super great. Like, what a blowout. And I don't know. I think this card probably should be played more, to be honest. Damn your life to hell. just suicide squad it.
All right, sir, give us your second pick.
Okay, so my 2 are pretty straightforward. One of them is your best mana dork in Elvish Aberration. So 5 colors and a green for a 4/5 elf mutant that can tap for 3 green. It also has forest cycling too. I'm wagering to guess this is in here mostly for the forest cycling. Just get it out of your hand, get another land out, one less thing to worry about. But even if you do, it's kind of the same thing as like, this does give you your 3 treasures, right? That you might be able to then spit out 2 creatures the next turn, or tap it, add 3 mana, sack it to Ziatora, and then just keep going on your merry way that way. I think that there's a lot of different routes that you can take with it. So kind of have to have it in here, I'm guessing, for a 6 mana one.
Well, and specifically because it is search your library for a forest card.
Right. Like all the,
so I can go get any of my duels that
go
I
get
need.
your Taiga or anything.
Yep, exactly. So this card is definitely turns 1 through 4 forest cycling, and then beyond, I'm probably playing it as a mana dork. Unless I just don't need the mana, and I just need to, like, hey, I got Bolts of Citadel, and I need to shuffle my library.
And it's still a 4/5, right? That you can attack with, or sack, or anything like that. So yeah, I think that probably plays out. And the last one I had to talk about it because he's my boy. I always forget that he costs 6 mana because I usually get him out on turn 2 or 3 in the deck I play him in. But Brosh, it's awesome. It's just your backup commander. So 3 colorless, black, green, and red for a legendary creature dragon. It's a 5/5 flyer. When you cast Prosh Skyrate occur, put X01 red kobold creature tokens into play, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Prosh. Did I do that right? Oh yes. Yeah. Oh, off the cuff. I closed my eyes. Did you see that?
I did not, but I believe you.
I don't know if you could tell behind the specs or not. And then it also has sacrifice another creature. It gets +0/+1 until end of turn. It's my OG commander. Had to bring him up. +1/+0. Thank you.
That'd be terrible if it just got a bigger butt.
But regardless, I like this just because it's less. In my opinion, this is way less of an offensive threat than it is a defensive one, right? Just getting these tokens out that can be blockers just to keep you alive for another turn or another 2 turns, I think is huge. A 6 for 1? It's incredible. What are you shaking your head about?
They're not in here for blockers, buddy. They're in here for Ziatora triggers. Let me get 6 things that I do not care about that I can sacrifice in step to get 3 treasures. That is why
I don't disagree with that, but I don't like that there's 0/1s, right? Like that sucks to me.
But that's like
it's just a treasure thing, yeah.
If you get too fixated on, well, I have to sacrifice things to
something that's doing both,
then you're not going to be able to do a 6 CMC tribal deck. That's just not going to happen.
That's a fair point.
The fact that we're restricted to 6 CMC, we need as many of our creatures as we can that produce essentially sack fodder to get the 3 treasures. And because I would much rather play Prosh, sack every single kobold every single turn for 3 treasures, avoid the 0, but now I'm able to cast because now you're done, Liliana Dreadhorde General that much quicker, Oblivion Sour, Goblin Goliath, Garroot Curse Huntsman. I just get all of these things. So that's more of the way I look at this. It's not 6 tokens for blockers. It's actually 18 treasures over my next 6 turns.
That's fair in the Magic Christmas Land world.
CMC,
I am guessing that you will be using several of these for blockers. But
we'll see. We'll see.
We will. I'll tune into that stream. Maybe I probably won't because I'll probably be out of town. That's kind of my life now, I guess.
Well, guys, thanks for listening to the Ramp and Grain section. Before we head over to the next one, we'd love you guys to check out our amazing Patreon community, patreon.com/CMDTower. You might have seen the episode last week where we had Usurper King Rickers on, talking about his Grease-fang Obika tribal deck. Awesome. It was great. It was so much fun. We had cool Spencer Rabbits on a few months back. Be sure to join in. And then you probably saw Zach Cappy on Slinging Cardboard Rectangles on our Twitch stream. I mean, it gets you guys a ton of stuff on there. So anything you guys could do from $1, $5, $15, $25, or different tiers, we'd really support it. I've actually noticed this, and I don't know if you've seen this, Tuck, on my personal patrons that I'm going to get a part of. I've actually seen them increasing their prices because everything's getting more expensive.
Oh.
We've been keeping the same for over 2.5 years. So still $1. I think we only get a penny out of that $1, but that's okay.
It's we're inflation proof. If nothing else, we're inflation recession proof here at CMDTower.
Yeah, we're basically a Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. BigTuck coin.
All right, guys. Well, now we're gonna head over to the Board State and Hot profile. At BigTuck, why don't you give us the first one? You've been talking quite a bit, but I'm interested. There wasn't as many hop cards to pick from.
Yeah, and this one I think I'm not sure it's a hop card. I kind of think it's more of a yeast, it's more of a grain usually, because this is the one tutor you have in here.
Huh.
Perhaps you might be screeching at the royalty, or perhaps beseeching the queen.
Well, you know me. For me, specific card generic tutors are hops because it's like I now have information about the board. I can go get what I need to deal with it. Versus if this was just like go get lands, yeah, it'd be a grain, or go get a card from your library and put it straight to the battlefield. Yeah, it'd be a yeast, but I still gotta pay for it. I am under my personal thing with tutors is they're all grain cards, but I see where you mean with that. However, this is an interesting one. It does cost 6 because it's 2 colorless, 2 colorless, 2 colorless, or black, 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 or 2 colorless, black, black, or 2 colorless, 2 colorless, black. So it's a modal card in that idea. So it also says on the card's converted mana cost is 6, which is pretty slick. Search your library for a card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So until you have 6 lands, well, I guess you could always just tutor for another land, right? Like, I know some people that run this so they can turn 1, Dark Ritual, Beseech the Queen, do another Swamp. It's like the worst. It's like a 3-card Rampant Growth and mono black. But I do like it. You have to have a tutor in here somewhere. We do have ways to cycle through. We did talk about it. You do have a couple of honest-to-God ramp spells, just a couple of them, right, that are still that 6 CMC. So I think if we always want to have at least one. It's like we talk a lot about we want something to deal with graveyards. We want something to deal with enchantments, right? I think it's always worth just having one tutor, no matter how greasy or potentially slimy that tutor may be. Yeah, and that's essentially the card is here. It either gets us a land or it gets us one of our 6 CMC permanents. There is no in between. I wish this was a newer card that was like, and then you may cast it. Yeah. Without paying its mana cost, like that'd be great. But then I get it; it's way too powerful. So yeah, no, this was actually a last minute addition from the mods. We'd kind of built the deck, and I had kind of play tested it a few times. They're like, "How did we miss this?" And then they sent it. I was like, "Oh yeah, that has to find."
Obviously, it's gonna be making an appearance.
All right, so all of my hops are ones that don't actually cost 6 at the end of the day. So the first one I want to start with is a card my grandfather put in my deck because it's a trap card.
Oh, grandfather, what?
It's Yu-Gi-Oh! My grandfather built this deck.
Wait, is that a thing?
Yes, that's what he always says.
I've never seen an episode.
Oh, you're missing out. Okay, Stone Idol Trap. Great
Okay.
card. Slam dunk. 5 colorless
Yeah,
red
this is really
instant
good.
trap. It's 19 cents. Put a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with trample onto the battlefield. Exile it at the beginning of your next end step. But it costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. So I do agree
Yeah.
with you, Tuck. I'm going to need blockers because people are going to be swinging at me. Well, how about for a single red, I'll get a 6/12. And then as long as I'm able to
Yeah.
get Ziatora out at least during my next turn, then it's just sacrifice fodder. I could bolt something for 6, and I get 3 treasures. So I look at this as an extremely flexible card. Granted, if I can't get Ziatora out, I'm probably not using it unless I just need to save myself.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like, unless you just need something to block out. So yeah, I like this card a lot. It's one of the few instants and sorceries that fit the bill, right? I don't know if I'd run this in any other deck unless it creates a giant or something.
No, construct.
Construct.
I mean,
okay,
you could put it
fine.
in a Brea build, non-competitive Brea build.
An
artifact.
Sure. I do really like it in here though. This gives I like because once you start getting the creature train rolling, you're not going to have a ton of mana to even threaten some sort of. You can't even bluff out that you have something in hand. So I like the fact that this one does for 1 potentially when they're swinging in, and you can totally get someone with this and remove maybe their commander or another giant blocker.
Well, think about it this way. It's essentially what I do in my Brutaclad deck. Everyone knows it's an all permanence deck. So it's just like, okay, even if he has mana open, he probably has nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything to do.
Turns. But then we put in the Sharknado where I can cycle it for however the hell much I needed to.
Right.
And so that it does give you options where no one thinks you have any options.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next top card?
So this one was the one I mentioned at the top of the episode. It's a modal card, so I immediately like it already. And this is probably your best removal spell at the price because it can easily be a 5-for-1, easy.
Oh, this is a good card.
This is a great card. Casualties of War for those playing the home game. That's 2 colorless, double black, double green for a sorcery. That's a rare for about $1, a little under there. Just choose 1 or more. Destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, destroy target enchantment, destroy target land, destroy target planeswalkers. Any one of those 5 things could be a huge kick in the butt for this deck, right? Problematic planeswalker, it's a fairy that keeps bouncing your shit and you can't get rid of it, right? Because you only have 1 or 2 creatures. Yeah. An artifact could be creatures on the battlefield tapped or whatever, right? Some orb of some varietals. Enchantment, propaganda, pretty much brings this deck almost to a screeching halt, especially in the early game. Land, glacial chasm. I mean, the list goes on, right? So I feel that you'll never be able to cast. You won't be able to cast this spell and feel like you never did anything, right? There's always going to be good targets for it, and I feel like you're always going to get a bang for your buck on it.
And I like it because it's not like Decimate where you have to have a target
Correct.
for everything.
Yes. Right.
So I do like the fact that it does kind of get around that clause. Granted, I don't know if this card could be printed at rare with that clause because the Planeswalker piece and the enchantment piece would be
that's really hard to fill. Yeah.
Destroy the least amount. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a great card. I didn't put a lot of generic board wipes in here, mainly because, well, that affects me too. And usually the one-sided board wipes are 8, 9, 10 mana, and I couldn't do it.
Yep, makes sense. So I like it. I like it a lot.
All right. Next one I wanted to talk to. Obviously, this deck, as many of the ones I build, I have to have my commander for the most part if I want it to run how I want it to run. Right. Now, I do think this deck has the legs like my Joda deck to where turn 7 and beyond, if I'm able to do my ramp correctly, I probably don't need my commander that much, but it is critical. So being able to give it indestructible at instant speed is key. So Destined to Lead was an amazing split card in here. So the Destined side, colorless black, instant, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. And then you have Lead, which is 3 colorless green sorcery, and it has Aftermath. You can cast the spell only from your graveyard, then exile it. All creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. 9 cents. So this card 100% of the deck because of the Destined key. 2 mana. You guys don't think I could do anything? Okay, let me protect Ziatora. or even I cast Ziatora and I only have 2 mana, and someone's like, okay, well, Swords to Plowshare, or Swords is wrong example, but
Right.
Beast Within, something like that. We cannot let him get to instep. Okay, well, I only had 2 mana left. Destined. Let's get it protected. The lead side, I would consider that a spice, half of the card.
Right.
I don't know if I'm ever going to be swinging with enough things to make it matter, but it actually could be to where it's like, well, they're at 8, and I got an 8 power and an 8 power, but they got like a bunch of creatures. Well, I guess I could do it and kill one, and then just all their stuff has to go to, my other.
Right.
So I could have some modality, but really the Destined is key.
Yeah, this is a card I like the front of it. I am just worried. I definitely like the front of it. I think the back of it's kind of cute, right? And if you have some way to, if you end up somehow having like a 12/12 or some other powerhouse out there, I think that's nice. I think the only concern I had with it is, like you said, like swords, Path to Exile, the Metalcraft when we talked about, like there's a lot of good removal spells that the Indestructible won't always get around. But that being said, the fact that you get it up to 7 commander damage as well, like offensively, or if you have one of your major token producers that you're just trying to swipe through a board wipe, that's where I can see that this still has. And again, it's just like you were talking about, right? It's 6 CMC tribal. You're not gonna get a card. You're not gonna be able to get a heroic Invention or Teferi's Protection in here, right? So I think for that level of mana that you can have open, makes it worth at least like a slot, maybe considering a slot.
Yeah, well, and you just kind of said it, like Dragon Broodmother's in the deck, and that's at the beginning of each upkeep. I get a token, which is huge.
Yeah, that's like
in the treasures.
Yeah,
and so it's like, even if I have to just use it to protect that. That's worthwhile.
That's fine. Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, what's your second? Or no? Yeah.
This is my
last top card.
This is my last one. So, this is a really, really interesting build because I think that there's a chance that there's a very high chance that you will not be able to this will flip on your next turn. It's a really cute one. I liked it a lot in here. And we were talking about, of course, Avabruck Caretaker, 4 colorless double green for a creature human werewolf. That's a mythic, about $7. It's a 4/4 with hexproof. And it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 1/1 counters on another target creature you control. And then it also has Daybound for those playing the home game. If a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn. And then it flips over to a 6/6 Hollow Henge Huntmaster. Hexproof. Other permanents you control have hexproof. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Each one that you control. So I think this is a really kind of sweaty card in a lot of decks, just because we are playing with 4 players. But again, I think there's probably going to be turns where you're going to be out of cards in hands, or you literally don't have the mana to get into something, right? You burn like a couple of treasures on this and your commander gets blown up or something. So I think that's not a bad situation to be in. And flipping this over to give everything your board, you might want to it might be worth it to be like, well, I feel like there's going to be some target removal coming up when this person untaps. I'm not even going to cast anything. Let it flip over. And then I already get the buff, and I get the protection from it as well. So I just think it's a really cool card in this slot.
And for this deck, because we have all these ways to cheat 6 CMC spells without casting spells, when I cycle, I can still trigger Nightbound.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I got this, but I don't want to waste my turn. I could still do a whole bunch of stuff on my turn. Still advance my board.
You still got stuff to burn,
actually
right? Yeah.
Casting the spell. So I think that's the other thing I really like about this card. And honestly, Tuck, the more I look at this, I thought there's an artifact or a blue card that says like everyone can only cast 1 spell per turn or something like that.
Oh, there's a bunch.
Or it might even be a white card that's like once they cast a spell, they can't cast it anymore for the rest of the turn. Could you imagine this being in that deck? Like, okay, got that, Avabruck. Well, once it's Nightbound, it's always Nightbound.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never be able to cast 2 spells.
I just think, I think it's cool tech.
Well, the last one I wanted to talk about is a land that everyone is all hot and horny about, and I don't understand why. But it's great in this deck, and I'm gonna be honest with everyone. I am not buying one. I got a $5 proxy from abyssproxyshop.com. Shameless plug. Code CMDTower. But Besiege You Who Endures is great for this deck.
Oh.
I just actually don't like this card that much.
Really?
Not in Commander. It's a one-of. It's a one-off. So Besiege You Who Endures, legendary land, rare, $23. Tap, add a green, but it has channel. So for a colorless green, discard Besiege You Who Endures, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic lands an opponent controls. That player may search their library for a land card with a basic land type and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control, which that seems silly. It should just say it costs 1 less to activate if you control a legendary creature, because it only costs 1.
Well, but they have the whole cycle to do, so they're not gonna. They have to use the same thing for the 5-card cycle.
So I like it in this deck only because we're restricted to that CMC. I need ways to interact in the early game when I don't have stuff to play. And being able to pay 2 mana and essentially disenchant or wasteland someone, I think that's worth it. I wasn't willing to spend $23 on this to own an actual copy, because I think if I keep this deck together, I'm going to take that out and I'll put something else in, and I'll probably make it not a 6 CMC tribal deck, to be honest. So
why do you not like this card? This card's incredible. In mono green, in 2 colors, even in 3 colors. It comes to the battlefield untapped, and late game just gives you something to destroy a troublesome permanent to get a basic land out. It's incredible.
The value that the card brings is immense in 60-card formats where you can have 4 of them in your deck. In Commander, where you literally can have 1. If I'm going to do a land slot for a non-basic and I'm going to spend $25 on it, I'd rather get an Urborg.
I disagree with that.
I'd rather get.
I've seen this do blowouts in Commander. Like, you don't think, you're like, okay, they're out of everything, and this person's like, yeah, I had it turn 1 and never had to use it, or I drew it late. And it's like, well, I don't need to use it as land. It's like an MDFC card that are also incredible.
I don't know.
It's not for you. All right.
Not at $25 for
that is really that is really steep, and I think that will go down because I know this card's a 4 of. Or 2 or 4 of in standard, right?
Well,
so
and that's why I'm not buying one now, but very much in a year and a half when it gets rotated out and maybe they're $18, $15, I'd pay that. It's the only deck I would even run this in would be my Lord Windgrace deck, just because then I could at least reuse it for a land later.
Sure, I'm hot on this card, and I've been blown out by it. So.
Well, guys, what you're not going to be blown out by is the end of this segment. Is
the deals over to BizProxyShop.com?
You guys should head to our Etsy store where you can get all of our great swag great Matt Nance actually updated all of our art on there. So actually there's high quality photos, which is great. Got all that updated over the last couple of days. Etsy.com, just type in CMDTower in the search bar and you're going to find us. We got our playmats, we got sweaters, we got card sleeves, we got tokens, we got coins. We got it all on there. Every purchase you guys do genuinely does help us keep the channel up and running, be able to help us do cooler things for you guys, especially around Magic 30 Vegas. So just remember Etsy.com, CMDTower. Now we're going to head over to how this deck is going to win and the yeast package. All right.
I feel like we're going to match up on at least one of these.
Well, let's see. I'm kicking it off with the card that is such a freaking blowout. 6-drop, enchantment, green. It's wild. It's wild, baby.
Oh.
Fucking wild pair.
I think you actually have enough to make it work.
Ross has already gone through and counted, and I think there's only 2 creatures that it does not work with.
Really? That's awesome. Yep. Okay, because I noticed, like, wow, there's a lot of 6/6s in this deck now that you think about it.
So 4 colorless green enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, you may search your library for a creature card with the same total power and toughness and put it onto the battlefield. If you do, shuffle your library. So now, effectively, I get a free shuffle that helps with Bolas' Citadel.
Sure.
Potentially get a tutor creature card, address it to the situation, and I can, because one of the issues I have as a play, and I'm curious, Tuck, if you ever get into this, we have so many decks, you kind of forget sometimes what's in the deck. I feel like this is a good card for me as like a refresher, especially without like the blowout, like staple creatures that we know about.
Yeah.
Because I have some weird ones in here. So I really, really like that as well.
Oh, I absolutely. So I just played Curses, Brea, and my Selesnya deck for the last time, and I've since taken them all apart and retired them. And I had that same problem with Brea. I hadn't played it in like a year and a half, and I had a War of Invention. I was like, I have no idea what's even put into this, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is great. Like this is, if you, I first looked at this as like, okay, this seems like it's extremely sweaty, and then I went and looked. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna take a look, and I found like 10 6/6s or something like that, right? So even if you only get 2 activations off it, it effectively pays for itself in 2, right? So
Yep.
you play it for the first turn. The next turn you get 2 6/6s. It's paid for itself. Anything beyond that is just straight upside.
Well, you're focusing on the 6/6s. It has nothing to do with the CMC. So it's just with their
Right.
their combined power.
Right, but that's what
so,
what I'm saying is that this is a 6-drop. You are going to get another 6-drop the turn after when you cast a 6-drop, and then it is paid for itself. And then if you happen
I just wanted to make sure we're saying six drop, not because this card's more focused on the power. And
correct.
toughness.
I was just saying mana value wise, it pays for itself after 1 activation.
Correct. Yeah, it does pay for itself
Yes.
after 1 activation. I think you had said 2 at first. Yeah.
Well,
so
it pays for itself after it pays for itself after 1, and then the second one you get is just straight gas. It doubles itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even if you go through, guys, I have weird ones. Like I have some 9 combined power and toughnesses, and I actually have multiple 9s that have combined power and toughness. So yeah, this card's great. It's definitely one that I would be hard pressed. I even think if I decided to take away the 6 CMC restriction, I think it'd be hard pressed not to keep it in here because it just seems like a really good card if you're being in a creature focused deck.
You just have to do the math with it when you start cutting out the 6 CMC, right? So,
Yep.
But I think it is a really cool. Like if you can get it to work, I think it's such a blowout and such a cool mechanic that you never even see in another card. You know.
Mm-hmm. All right. What's your first one?
Okay. This is a card that some people have referred us to as, because there's 2 of us, and we might be a little diabolic.
Oh no, this is not one of
or
mine.
fiendish in our lifestyles. I am, of course, talking about Fiendish Duel. Love it. Fiendish Duo. 4 colorless double red for a creature devil. It's a 5/5. That's a mythic rare for $30 for the foil. I don't even know where you can get one of those. Another like Play Night rigmaroles. First strike. If a source would deal damage to an opponent, it deals double that damage to a player instead. And it's a 5/5, aka 10/10. And you have tons of flyers, tons of tramplers. I think this deck wants as many of these effects as it can, and I think you got the 2 that you are able to have in the deck, and they're both extremely expensive. So I love it. I wish I had a copy of this for all my Rakdos decks, any ones that deal with devils, but I just haven't gotten to it yet. But what a great card.
It's surprisingly expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
$30 Card Kingdom's ridiculous. I think I got it for 16 or something like that.
Did you buy this already?
I literally told you that I bought like the ones that it's.
Oh,
like,
I thought you said you were going to.
Them or not. No. I've already placed my order for the deck. For the cards that cost money that regardless if you cut them or not, I would keep in the deck. I love Fiendish Duo though, especially with the modal aspect of the opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever a source would deal damage, not even combat damage. Like, oh, you want to do your City of Brass? Well, that's 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
you want to
do Sign in Blood? All right.
I just doubled your fireball. Maybe you can knock out this guy and keep me around for another turn, right?
Yeah. So,
it's great.
That's an awesome card.
Yeah, I think it's.
I almost pulled the trigger on the Japanese. They had a special edition one they released in only Japan LGSs. Almost got that one, and it was actually cheaper than the English. But I was like, I don't want to have to like look it up every time because I've never seen this card.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, my next one. Well, I mean, what deck would be a party without the bride of the party?
Oof.
Olivia, Crimson Bride.
Very good.
Such gas.
Very good.
Deck. 4 colorless Rakdos. That'd be black and red. It's a 3/4 legendary creature, Vampire Noble. It's a mythic, and the copy I have is about $5. Flying in haste. Beautiful.
Yep.
Whenever Olivia, Crimson Bride attacks, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains when you don't control a legendary vampire, exile this creature. Well, you know how we get around that exile effect? Just sacking that SOB to Ziatora at the end of turn, bolting someone in the face for 5, 6, 7, 8. getting 3 treasures, and then I'll do it again next turn.
Or does it even matter because you already got the ETB or you already got the attack in, right? So,
well, I don't want to lose the creature, so I don't want them, because the issue with Olivia is if someone gets rid of her, she exiles all the other
that's
creatures,
but I'm saying,
and then
like,
they're gone forever.
if you get if depending on what creature you get, it doesn't matter. Even if they do kill her and you lose the other one forever, right? Even if you don't have your sacrifice outlet, because you'll already get the ETB or the damage in, right?
I thoroughly disagree. I cannot have resources get removed from the game.
You wouldn't play this card.
CMC
You wouldn't play this card if you didn't have your commander out.
Or some other way to sacrifice. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. I think the card's insanely strong, and I think you have so many beaters in here that even just getting an activation and getting to attack in without a sack outlet is going to be plenty good enough.
I mean, it just depends. I mean, like, am I going to do Netherborn Phalanx like without a sack outlet on the battlefield? No, because it doesn't do anything. Like, who cares if you guys lose 1 life for each creature you control and that's it? Like, maybe Noxious Gearhulk would be one that I'm comfortable to just like remove something, or even a Bane of Progress. That could be a different story. But no, most of them, they don't have such a blow up damage or ETB effect that it's like, oh, I'm just fine getting it once. Like, no,
you're the one who
I play.
You're the one who play tested it. I did not play test this one, so
yeah,
I believe you if you tell me.
Ooh, yeah, but she's amazing.
Yeah,
I love
her.
Really,
really good.
The only thing I have kind of thought about is putting Phyrexian Tower back in the deck just to have a land that can have a sack outlet.
That's pretty good,
just in case. Which I may even still add it.
Yeah. Or if you don't want to pay that, I think high market is way cheaper too. That
I literally have one sitting in a pile.
Oh, easy enough. Yeah. Put it in.
All right. What's your next one? We haven't matched yet.
Okay. So this is one of the few ways you can get your extra combats in here. I always forget this also costs 6 and is also a complete beater. This is not one of yours either. Nope. Oh my god, it's so good. Morag, Fury of Akum. Oh.
Yep.
4 colorless, double red for legendary creature Minotaur Warrior. It's a 6/6. Each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it is attacked this turn. Then it has landfall. Whenever landfall enters the battlefield under your control, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after that phase. At the beginning of that combat, untap all creatures you control. Even I know usually people play this where you get like 6 landfall triggers or what, and you do have ways like you talked about where if you're open on mana, you don't have any creatures to cast, you do have stuff that will be able to trigger landfall more than once, right? Magical Christmas Land. I think just being able to get 2 combats a turn with the beaters and the heavy swingers that you got out here, I think that's going to be more than enough. And even get the pump on the second one, right? So I think this is like a card that I think would be good in the deck regardless because you're running green, right? So you do have ways to tutor and get landfall, but the fact that it does fit that 6 CMC is like perfect finisher. Perfect finisher.
Well, and it partners perfectly with the card I just talked about, the Olivia, because now it gives me an additional combat phase for an additional bring back from the graveyard. It's just such a blowout. And it actually turns one of the crappiest ramp cards in all of Magic, and this is Renewal, into like a banger.
Oh yeah, it's like the best card in the deck.
Oh man. So Morag is great, and I was just excited because I was actually super hot on this card when it first got previewed.
Me too.
And then once I got it, I was just like, doesn't do what I thought I could do with it, unless I just wanted to do a landfall deck, which I don't know. That's not my flavor. All right, last one, Tuck. Are we going to the east?
Wait, are you done?
No, I got one more. Are we going to the east?
Are we going to the east?
The east?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said, are we going to the east? Like, you have lost me. I'm from the East Coast, man.
Now.
Far East Coast. Yeah, go ahead.
We're talking Kudama the East Tree.
It's great. It's a good one.
Flat banger in this deck. 4 colorless, green, legendary creature spirit. It's a rare. It's a 6/6. It does have partner, but that doesn't count for this deck. A little under $3. It has reach, which is nice.
Sure.
But whenever another permanent enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability specifically, you may put a permanent card with equal, not even getting to the lesser part, converted mana cost from your hand.
Not even getting to the lesser part. Don't even worry about it.
Who really cares?
It does get a land. It does get a land.
Yeah. Yep, if I play a land, I get a land. If I play a 6-drop and I don't have another one I want to do, I could do another land. But being able to go 6-drop into 6-drop, which is effectively makes them both cost 3. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That the value, I get it. This card, its value is known throughout the community. But for this deck,
Yeah.
when you do this weird restriction, it's so good.
Very strong. I like this. I wish the only thing for this deck specifically, I wish that it said, I wish it was worded differently so that it actually casted the creature, so then you could wild pair it and really get some value for it.
Oh god.
I know, right? Like just this one time where, like, the one time in Magic history, someone's like, "I wish this worked with wild pair." Like, how could they ignore this piece of Magic history? Yeah, it's really bonkers. I wish you could, like, I've seen it go off, like when they do it like the first turn and then like play 7 cards or whatever, which obviously I don't think will be the case here, but it's the same thing. It's like the same, this and wild pair, I feel, are like right neck and neck in terms of like how valuable they are, right? The turn after they pay for themselves, and then the turn after that, they just start giving you nothing but value.
Exactly. But I do like the fact that this doesn't have the from hand restriction
Yes.
like Wild Pair does.
Right.
So, if I'm pulling stuff from the graveyard, I'm still triggering that enter the battlefield effect for Kodama.
Right.
So that
Right.
is super helpful. All right, Tuck, what's your last East card?
So I'll be quick with it because I'm guessing you are really going to pay 6 for this because you're going to be paying 3. Our old pal Rubble Hulk is going to be starting punching in some face with commander damage. So
Woo!
4 colorless, a green, and a red for a creature elemental. Its power and toughness are equal to each. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, and it has Blood Rush. So a colorless, green, and a red. You discard it. Target attacking creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of lands you control. So one thing, I mean, we've talked already about the big splashy ones that we already have, right? The big swingers, the ones with flying, that sort of things. But what I do like is that even your commander is a 6/6 flyer, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to be sacrificing her. So unless you're saving her black for blockers, you're going to be getting in the red zone with Ziatora, right? Start chipping people down, or they start sacrificing their drakes or whatever, then bam, out of nowhere, you can Rubble Hulk someone and just headshot someone with commander damage. Maybe it's a little later in the game. I just love that modality, right? Getting in through trample damage. There's a million different things that this can do. And like I said, there's not a ton of cards that let you do this sort of thing. And the fact that this one itself can kind of be a bigger creature, I just love the fact that this is going to come out of nowhere and people are going to get blasted out of the game with it.
Yeah, so the thing that I really enjoyed about it is the fact that it's not just attacking creature I control.
Oh,
so
always
I can
true.
be a little politics,
a little modal. Yeah, sure.
Hey, Marketing Ross, if you want to go in over a Duff Man over there, I'll beef up your guy.
I'll sweeten the deal for you a little bit.
So I do like that. But the other thing I like, and Tuck, you tell me if I'm thinking wrong. I feel like in a deck like this, where you have so many big things, but you're tall, you're not wide. I actually don't think people are going to block as often as we think they are. I think a lot of times it's like, oh, do I want to take 6 or like lose one of my creatures? They're just going to be doing it all night. I need to keep my resources so that way I can just get rid of them. I just need, if I could remove the player, then the creature goes away and I don't get hit for 6 anymore. So I think more times than not, I'll swing and be like, okay, I'm going to go in with Mikaeus the Unhallowed. And they're just like, I don't want to take 5, but all right.
Yeah, fine.
Do it. I'm not going to throw my tokens in front of it because I know you're doing this all day long, and I'd rather hit you instead. Aha, Rubble Hulk, now you're taking 15 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. That's actually where I think I'll be able to use it as a sneaky card because I think I'm actually going to be unblocked more times than I would think.
Yeah, especially with the size of creatures you have. So either way, like, I agree with you, right? Like, I think this is going to be a card that you're going to get people with every single time, right? And they're just not going to see it coming.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the East section. Before we over to our last deck section to talk about, we'd love you guys, as you've heard us talk about, abyssproxyshop.com. Use code CMDTower. I literally went on there, placed an order today, which I guarantee is before Tuck has even done his first order.
Correct.
How big is your card at now?
Oh, I don't know, $180 or something.
Jesus, but it's gonna get to the point where it's like $1,000, and he's
was like,
an email from Abyss Proxy Shop, like, we cleared your cash.
Damn it!
So it's great. I was able to go on there, get a Mikaeus the Unhallowed, an Ancient Tomb. I was able to get a bunch of cards, and I even ordered some cards. Realized I already owned them in my collection. Went ahead and shot them a message. Hey, I actually don't need those. Can you substitute these instead? within a day. They're like, yep, no problem.
Really?
Great customer
That's
service.
awesome.
Absolutely. So code CMDTower for 10% off. The channel does get a kickback, so it does help us keep the lights on. But abyssproxyshop.com. Now we're going to head over to the Spicy Meatball. And Tuck, start us off. What's the spice card you wanted to talk about?
I'm going to talk about the one that will gain you the most life. Because I've seen this.
I think we're talking.
I've seen this card go off.
3, 2, 1.
Fangren Marauder. Woo! 5 colors and a green for a creature beast. Relevant, not. It's a 5/5 for 25 cents. But more importantly, it's got this bit to it. Whenever an artifact of any varietal, an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 5 life. That also includes treasures, food, clues, thopters, baubles, opponents.
Of your opponent's artifacts.
I think that's why this card is insane. I've seen people gain 150 life off this card, one card alone, because like every freaking, we've talked about it, every freaking card creates investigates, creates a food token, or creates a treasure, right? Like they're just rampant all over the place. So I wish you could, if there was a card that I wish you could get out the fastest, this would be one of them, because I think this is going to give you the most life over time. And I think you're going to need it going into the late game.
Those are all great thoughts. Do you want to know why the card's even in the deck, though?
Because it costs 6 mana, it's a 5/5?
Well, that's fair. No, this was actually a little synergy that Sharpie found, that an Ezerut Channeler, 5 colorless green, 4/6 reach. Creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, for X is the amount of life you gain this turn.
Oh, yes. Very cute.
Basically, boom, you bin 1 treasure that you got from Ziatora the previous turn. You gain 5 life now. All of our 6 drops effectively cost 1, 2, or 3, depending on how many pips.
I like that. That is very cute. That is very cute. You got me there. That is very cute.
It is, but it's in the spice because it's like that's the only synergy within the deck, other than just the fact that you can get incidental life gain, and that will be good for the deck. So it is that thing where it like kind of fits the strategy. Could there be a better card at the deck? Like we don't have Dreamstone Hedron in here. Would it be better just to put a 6-drop that gives you 3 mana than this that might get us a 5 reductive later? Who knows? But that's kind of why the card was in here, is like this really cool synergy that he found. It is like, man, that is super powerful.
Right. Yeah, this card is really sweet.
All right. Well, guys, that is going to wrap up the spice package. And because BigTuck can't hold his bladder, we have to go to commercial.
And we are going to run an ad break. We'll be right back.
Ah!
I think it's going. Is it going? It's going. Okay. Yes, it's going. Ads. Technology. Okay, so I think last week I told you about that attire business, right? So I think I told you that one of the people on our team was wearing a borderline inappropriate shirt or sweater.
I do not remember that.
Oh, well, it may or may not have been Russian themed, if you catch my drift.
Oh, no. Okay, I do remember that now.
Yeah. So evidently, word just got to my boss from my project manager, and it's not good.
I can imagine not.
There's
All right,
some
we
very
ready?
angry people out there.
All right, hitting record. All right, now we're going to head over to the bottle capping. And as a reminder, this is going to be BigTuck's cuts from the deck and 3 ads that'll be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. He just will not do any mana only lands. So BigTuck, what is the first cut and first ad for this deck?
So I didn't get to play this one, and then I'll admit this was really hard. I think you did actually. I think you built a really good deck. So the cards that I'm cutting are not ones that I'm willing to die on a hill for. These were the ones that to me just felt like they had the least amount of synergy. I'm more excited about the cards that I want you to add. So take that with how you want it, right? So
Fair.
the first one I was going to cut is going to be Primeval Bounty. It's 5 colorless and a green for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 1/1 counters on target creature you control. And whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life. I have tried to run this card in a lot of different decks, and for me, the juice has never been particularly worth the squeeze for it. Right? I feel like for the decks that I have run it in, I know this is not this one, right? I haven't got any reps in with this. For me, you need to be able to trigger these abilities multiple times a turn, and I'm not sure if this deck's going to be able to do that. So that's why I'm cutting it out.
Sure. So the reason it's in is because cast a creature.
Sacrifice fodder. I get it. Yeah.
Sacrifice, and it's 3 treasures. So essentially, every creature you're casting for half price, the next spell is going to be guaranteed half price as well with Ziatora.
Sure. So I get all that. That's why I was saying. Like I said, you have to maybe cut 3 cards. That's why I'm cutting it. So
don't get butthurt. I'm
not butthurt. I'm not
defending it.
I'm not butthurt. I'm just telling you. You asked me to cut 3 cards. I'm cutting 3 cards. There you go. This one I was shocked wasn't in here because this is the first thing that came to mind for me. And that card is Shifrit Monitor. So 5 colorless and a green for a 6/5 creature lizard. That also is cycling for 3 colorless and a green. When you cycle it, you may search your library for a basic land card or desert card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So for me, this fills in a huge piece in the grain section. You kind of have one other card, the Road to Ruin, that actually is like a real tutor that goes to the battlefield, right? There's and I think, don't get me wrong, I went through and because I was like, I want to see every mountain, forest, and swamp cycler that you have, and you got pretty much all the good ones, right? So I just like this one because it can be a 6/5 lizard if you need it to, but more likely than not, this can cycle. This can cycle and get you land to the battlefield. And then on top of that, this is also, this is again Magic Christmas Land. This would be a great way to trigger into Morog, right? We were talking about how you do have a couple ways to get lands onto the battlefield. So that I thought was kind of a sneaky tech there too.
Yeah, so this is actually one that we did see. I saw it when we were going through. The biggest reason I didn't include it was just the cycling was a little pricey at 4 mana. And look, everything costs 6, so it's like that technically is cheap. But it just kind of became one of these things like we just could not figure out what to cut. That was just like, honestly, I'm gonna let you get your cuts. There's a spice card that's colorless that I would probably actually cut for this card, and I think it would just be better. But I do agree. I like the fact that the cycle effect, you get to draw and you get a land card. You get to put it onto the battlefield.
Sure.
Like, that's pretty cool.
So I'm happy. So I am happy to also cut that colorless card as well. But I'm surprised because you have it in there for a reason, right?
Well, so it's in there for the infinite with
Correct.
Matthias, but I don't have a sack outlet static that I can always put it into. So it would just more be the in step. I don't have anything else to sacrifice. I get my 3 treasures, get rid of it, it comes back. So
wait, I think it just goes infinite with just Matthias, right?
No, because then it's a 1/1.
Oh, because it gets the
it's always a 1/1. Right. Yeah, if it was a 0/0, you'd be right, but no, it's always a 1/1. Right.
Other non-humans. Okay, so anyways, well, okay, perfect. I'm gonna cut Triskelion. So for the same reasons that you had, it was on my list as well because it's way too greasy. I do like the fact that you can ping down birds and that sort of things, right?
Sure.
But I like if you don't have the combo to go with it, then I think we can kind of do better. And one of the ones that I thought was a big miss in here that I think in similar scope to Rubble Hulk, you might be able to get a few people with and really turn your commander on, right? And that one is the spawn. I think you said this was the spawn of the majority of your arena career.
God. What?
I mean, there's a bunch of them. It was Rankle was the big one, right?
Yeah.
So that's not this one. This one is Ember Cleave though, which I always forget costs 6.
It was in the deck and then I cut it.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
I think I know why. So 4 colorless and double red for a flash legendary artifact equipment. It's a mythic from the redacted set. That's around $5. It has flash. The spell costs 1 last to cast for each attacking creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. A equipped creature gets +1/+1, has double strike and trample. The reason why this card is insanely good in a lot of decks is because you cast it for double red, right? Because you have your 4 attacking creatures, and you're off to the gates with that. I think is that the reason why you cut it from the deck, because you don't feel like you're gonna be able to get that big of a reduction on it, and you kind of have to skip a turn a little bit to play it.
Essentially, yeah. It's like, would I rather get another body enchantment big spell threat, or just give something double strike and trample?
Yeah.
For basically the same cost. So that was the reason I cut it, and because the deck list was at like at 140 something.
Jesus.
And so it was hard to like. I think this was the 101 or 102 cut.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be opposed to putting it back in the deck, just being frank, on depending on how it performs. But yeah, the reduction, I never felt like I was going to get more than 1 or 2, and I just didn't think that was enough over another ramp spell or a fetch land or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I thought it was pretty slick though, in my opinion.
No, it is super slick.
And this is like I think this is another way you can just like totally blast someone right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. Hold on. I had another one, so I'll just go. I want to see your opinion on this one first while I look up the one I actually wanted. The other one I'm going to have is I think this card reads really well. I have never got it to work, and I think it's overcosted even for this deck. And that is Champion of Stray Souls. So 4 colorless, double black for a 4/4 mythic. It's a skeleton warrior, slam dunk at skeleton decks. Don't get me wrong here. This is gonna be your top end there. 3 colorless, double red, tap, sack X other creatures, return X creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. 5 colorless, double black, put it on top of your library from your graveyard. So I know that there is a fair amount of token producers. I am just worried that I don't know how many creatures we're going to have in the graveyard versus how many creatures we're going to have to sack to switch them.
So even if it's just 1, it's better than me casting it, because it's 5 mana.
It's 5 less?
Mana. Well, no, it's 5 mana instead of paying 6 mana for a creature. So, and we're always going to have creatures in the graveyard, because we just talked about a Rubble Hulk. That's a burst card that you're discard it down to there. The cycling cards, we're going to be cycling those out of there. And let's just be honest, 6 drops scare the shit out of people. And so they're going to use their removal. They're going to use their board wipes. So the fact of, man, I don't really have any impactful creatures in hand, but my graveyard's filled with them. Okay, let's pay 5 with Champion. I'll sacrifice 1 other creature. Maybe it's a token, which is ideal, but heck, maybe it's my commander because I need to get XYZ out. Let's go ahead and do that. So it was just a nice way to be able to recycle for 5. And it's not like it's 5 for each target. It's just 5.
Right.
So if I do get the magical Christmas land of a bunch of tokens, oh my gosh, how good
Then the one time it does it, but then you have a 4/4 if you don't. So that's why I don't love this card. Maybe I just chose the 3 cards I don't like the most, but such is life. So I have 2 that I think are interesting for you to think about, and then I have 1 that's kind of cheesy. Which order would you like to hear? There's a pair, and then there's a total cheesy one. Okay.
Give me a cheesy one first.
All right. So again, because I don't know how the rules work, especially with like the Toil Trouble, Thrash or Threat. I don't know if those technically are 6 CMC cards, right? If they're combined or not. I don't remember how the split cards work, right? But I did find you. This is so we're kind of cheesing it here a little bit, okay? Just a little bit.
Okay.
But I did find you a mana rock for 3 that technically could cost 6.
No, doesn't count.
You're not doing Skyclave Relic? Come
Nope,
on!
does not count. No, it doesn't count. That's like saying Cyclonic Rift is technically a 7 CMC. No,
I would look up
count.
your split cards and just double check those, because I know
they are.
They're not all the same.
Because if you were to tutor your library for a 6-drop,
you would have to get on both.
Legal targets.
Okay. You sounds like you did research, so I'll leave you on that. So the 2 that I had just to think about are some cards that can go on adventures that are new, right?
Okay.
So the first one is Amethyst Dragon. It's 4 colorless, double red for a 4/4 flyer haste, or you can do Explosive Crystal, 4 colorless and a red, and it deals 4 damage divided amongst any. Explosive Crystal deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. So for me, it's not the best rate, but that still gives you something to do if you are ahead. Blow up some mana dorks, keep people in the game, right? And then it's just something to do. I think it's a little overcosted because you're pretty much paying 1 for a damage, and there's no cap to it. So that's not my favorite one, right? The one I like more, though, is this gives you a little bit more interaction in a way that you don't really have yet. And that one is Emerald Dragon. So that's 4 colorless, double green for a creature dragon that's a 4/4 with flying and trample, but it has Dissonant Wave. 2 colorless and a green for an instant adventure, counter target activated or triggered ability from a non-creature source. That. So it could just be like a quick stifle. It's really cheap. I mean, it's 23 cents, right? So it's not a broad counter spell, right? That is not the case, right? But I do like the fact that this gives you a counter in the deck, and we do know that there are a lot of like ETBs or when certain things happen that could be really tough to come back from, or the deck could be built on. So this might at least buy you more time to get around those sort of effects. I just don't know if there's enough. I don't know if there's enough of these if there's enough activated or triggered abilities that you're going to worry about to warrant a slot in here. These were just some ones to think about.
I like Emerald Dragon way more than the other one. The other one is unplayable in its probably format that it's meant to be played in, which is like draft. It's
really good. It's really good in draft. It's really good in draft.
I don't know, 5 mana sorcery for the Explosive Crystal. That's not good.
It's really good. As someone who did 3 pre-releases, trust me.
Emerald Dragon, I'm all here for.
You like that one?
I love the activated triggered ability counter because, I mean, maybe someone tries to Nev's disc me. That would really suck.
Or something,
and
right?
This could stop it. Yeah.
I think it's
I
always
like that it's 3 mana.
I always think it's like weird with it's like it's kind of like the Stifle thing, right? Like how many people run Stifle in decks versus how many times you should, right? And I think that's really meta dependent, right? Yeah. Like there's probably games where if you had this in your deck, if you had this in your hand, you would have won it slam dunk, right? Then there's probably ones where this is sitting in your hand the entire time and you're like, well, I don't know, I can't really do much with this.
Yeah, and I mean, I wish it didn't say non-creature source, but I get they kind of had to put that restriction being a green card.
Some break on it, sure.
But I think that's why you don't see Stifle played. It's because it is so restrictive, and that's why you see Disallow played more for that.
Right.
Counterspell plus Stifle. So, no, I like Emerald Dragon, and I like that we're at the end of the episode. So thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And be sure to leave some positive feedback wherever you found us. If you're watching us live on Twitch, maybe you're watching us on YouTube a week later, or listening to us on your podcast platform. If you'd like to get a hold of us, here's how you could do that. You can get a hold of me at Mr. Commodore 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except 5. Tuck, where are you at? I
am at BigTuck tweeting on Twitter. I've noticed that all the time I spend on Twitter is just messaging content creators, scheduling our streams. So I haven't had a lot in there to share. I think I did some spicy retweets potentially back in the day. So that's where you can find me though if you have any questions or just want to get a hold of me to tell me I suck. I don't know. Up to you.
Yeah, and if you want to see what's going on at the channel, always follow at CMDTower on Twitter as well. We will have the videos and deck lists and everything posted at our website, cmdtower.com/BNBE149. And remember, if you're looking to support us, you can do it through a myriad of ways. Patreon.com/CMDTower, abyssproxyshop.com, code CMDTower, or Etsy.com, CMDTower in the search bar. All 3 ways are the ways that you can financially help this channel grow, keep relevant, keep putting out new content, and keep getting out sweet, sweet swag for you. BigTuck, Brews and Builds, and I did have a deck name for this. Ziatora's seis de curso. How do you feel? I know that the cuts and ads were a bit difficult and weird, but overall, how do you feel this deck's going to perform, considering we never said it? Tapped Out thinks this is a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think Tapped Out literally just looks and says, like, how many reserve list cards do you run?
Yeah.
Do you run Rhystic Study? Do you run Smothering Tithe? I bet they have a list of like 20 cards, and they're like, well, that's what we got. So no, I don't particularly like these deck building challenges because I rarely build new decks. So when I do, I don't like having shackles on them. But I will say this. I think this is like a really good niche that you've gotten yourself into, right? Because I think this deck is actually really good. Like I would be interested to see how it holds up, right? Because I hope you get to play it on the stream at some point with me. That would be great. When this comes in and it's live. But I think that you found some really cool picks. We didn't even talk about the Planeswalkers you found, which are all great, right? I loved how you even got those in. I think they're all good. Like Chandra Flamecaller, this might be the best deck that she's been in besides like a Madness deck, right? So I think you and the admins found some really interesting picks here. And I mean, it looks like I like the idea of this deck because it's a Jund Sacrifice deck, right? It's right up my alleyway. So the fact that you chose to do that for this build makes it even better, in my opinion. Excuse me.
I'm excited to play it. It'll be interesting to see if it lives in the rotation, which I think I'm gonna build a Ziatora deck of some varietal.
Yeah, sure.
It's tribal. You don't
have to trick me into that. I am here for this.
So I think Ziatora is a very, very cool legend. But I'm almost wondering how long the 6 CMC gimmick is going to trick the play tables that I'm at. So where they're like, oh, we should ignore him because he can't do anything for so long. Like, how many punches in the mouth is it going to take for me just to become public enemy #1? And then the deck's literally unplayable because I just die in the first 5 turns.
Well, I was just gonna say, is it just gonna get to the point where they're like, it's turn 4. Well, we might as well. I got nothing else to do, so I might as well just kill Mr. Combo. Here you go.
Yeah,
40 commander damage.
So that's my biggest fear. That's my biggest fear with the deck. But fears do not hold Mr. Combo.
Yes.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Mr. Combo is the fear. When the boogeyman shuts his eyes, it is Mr. Combo that he sees. And with that, stream, we'll see you